Hi all, welcome to my YouTube channel again. So in this session, we are going to discuss about the interview questions on AWS. Till now, we have covered some of the few important services which are on AWS. So before going through this video, please go and watch the previous sessions, which where there is a detailed explanation of AWS services. Also, that will be helpful if you have mentioned everything in this blog. If you want to check out this blog, you can check that from this link, which I will be keeping in the description box. So let's start now. Name 5 AWS services you have used and what are the use cases. So you can mention for this question you can mention simply like EC2, IAM, RDS, ECS and Amazon CloudWatch. So these are some of the important services which are used in mostly in every project because these are the required for security purpose we need IAM and for EC2 for virtual machines we need EC2 and RDS is the database commonly used. These are the commonly used services in AWS. ECS is Elastic Container Service and CloudWatch is the monitoring tool. So you all might have known that EC2 is nothing but a virtual machine. So this is used to spin up servers in AWS like Ubuntu and Linux to run the application. So this is the base of the project. And whereas IAM identity and access management is used to create users, groups, and roles. So to provide specific permissions to access any service in AWS for the users. I have used this to integrate AWS CLI into the console. So you can mention simply like that. And the database we use RDS, which full form is Relational Database Service. To this is to create different types of databases in AWS. So you can just simply say that you have used this to create a MySQL database server and integrated it with an application. An Elastic Container Service is used to create and containerize the applications in AWS. In the previous session, we have discussed about the ECS where we have created a container for an Nginx image. So you can go and watch that video and you can just simply mention that like in detail, like whatever you have done to create in a container for an Nginx image. And the CloudWatch is nothing but a monitoring tool for different services in AWS. So you can just say you have set up a billing alarm that is triggered by a mail regarding the usage cost of the resources in AWS. So like that you can mention and answer this question. And the second one is what are all the tools used to send logs to the cloud environment. So with AWS Cloud Trial, you can monitor your AWS deployments in the cloud by getting a history of AWS API calls for an account. So this is one of the tool that is used to send logs to the cloud environment. And CloudWatch we have already discussed that it is provides a reliable, scalable, and flexible monitoring solution that you can start using within minutes. So you no longer need to set up, manage, and scale your monitoring systems and infrastructure if you are using this CloudWatch. And also along with this, there is another service which is Amazon Guard Duty. So this is a threat detection service that continuously monitor malicious activity and unauthorized behavior to protect your AWS accounts and workloads. So this is also one of the service that exposes notifications via Amazon Cloud, so you can trigger an automated response or notify a human. On AWS, they can also questions like what are all the AWS IAM roles and how do you create and manage them. So IAM roles are identities you can create with the specific permissions for short durations. You can assign IAM roles to entities that you trust so that those entities can assume the role when needed. IAM roles are primarily meant for internal use. So, an IAM role has no associated credentials like passwords or access keys. The lack of credential is one of the main difference between a user and a role. A role can be temporarily assumed by the user, service, or application that has granted permissions to assume. So the steps to create a role is navigate to the IAM console AWS and go to role, select the EC2 option or Lambda on the page according to the requirement. Then just provide the specific permission as needed for the roles you are creating. Create the user and assign them the roles. So like that you can create a role. If you want in detail, you can just go and watch the previous session. I have already posted some of the videos about the IAM and AWS roles. We can just go and watch there like how to create, how to manage, how to attach them. Everything I have detailedly explained. So how to upgrade or downgrade a system with zero downtime. So you might have already heard about the deployments. So when we use some specific application like let's say Amazon itself, Amazon e-commerce website, if there is a deployment in the backend which is going on and your customers are accessing that application, you don't want any downtime when that deployment is going on. So that if there is any downtime, then the application gets crashed and customers cannot access that page. That should not be the case because this will result in business loss. So we need to so there are some deployment strategies which can avoid this downtime, so which will result in the zero downtime. Using this we can just do our deployments as usual, and the traffic which is coming from the customer traffic will also fetch the details from the servers, like whatever it is needed. So this is the best approach. So first is the rolling deployment. So rolling deployment strategy slowly replaces previous versions of an application with the new versions by entirely switching out the environment in which the application is running. For example, containers running new versions of application they take the place of containers running previous version of the application. And the canary deployment, to avoid risk, a canary deployment use a phased approach. Traffic is shifted in increments. So with the aid of a router or load balancer, we can just simply follow this canary deployment, and we can just follow this canary deployment, and the code is released in this in small group of users so it can be tested, and metrics measure the success of the new iteration. So once new version of the application has been accepted, it can be rolled out to the rest of the environment gradually by loading more users. So you can just simply go through the block so that you can get a knowledge on what is this types of deployment. Blue green deployment is mostly used. So this is like if the traffic is on blue, then we deploy our application on green. Then once the green is up and running, then we can just switch the traffic to the green. So like that, how it works. And the what is infrastructure as a code and how do you use it? Infrastructure as a code is the way of creating cloud services through code. There are some tools like Terraform and CloudFormation. CloudFormation is again a service which is offered by the AWS. Terraform is platform independent. We can use with anything, like not only on AWS platform, we can use it for the Azure platform also. So it is a platform independent tool. So this is used to create resources in the cloud like S3, EC2, RDS, VPC, etc. And the load balancer. So load balancer, we have three types: application load balancer, network load balancer, classic load balancer. So this load balancer is used when decisions are to be made related to HTTP and HTTPS traffic routing. And network load balancer works at the transport layer. This TCP SSL of the OSI model. And the classic load balancer is a traditional form of load balancer which was used initially, distributes the traffic among the instances, and is not intelligent enough to support host-based routing and path-based routing. So that's about the load balancer. Now, what is the cloud formation and why it is used? Cloud formation, as I have already said, is used to is an infrastructure as a service. So it lets you create the templates that describes the AWS service that you want. Then it handles the config and provisioning of the resources described in the template. Next, the difference between AWS Cloud Formation and Elastic Beanstalk. Elastic Beanstalk is easy to use service for deploying and scaling web applications and services deployed with a variety of languages. Whereas CloudFormation provides a common language for you to describe and provision all the infrastructure resources. And what are the kinds of security attacks that can occur on the cloud? So these are the some of the attacks that you can mention in the when this question get asked, and these are the minimizing methods. Like we can use multi-factor authentication, because using that we can prevent account takeover by requesting at least two authentication methods. And next is a privileged. Both users and integrated systems should only have the access to the resources. Also, effective way to contain the spread of malware in the cloud is to use network segmentation to limit malicious software or threat actors to a small segment of the network. So like this, we can minimize these attacks, and you can answer that question like that. So that's all for today. This is all about the questions that might get asked about the AWS. Before watching this video, you can just go and watch the sessions that were on AWS in the that I have posted that in the previous session. So once you go and watch, you will get a better understanding on this part. Thanks for watching. And if you want to check out this blog, you can check that from this link, which I will be keeping in the description box. Thank you.